and physically. We're looking at it physically and spiritually in the whole. Okay. Let's turn to we'll go to the 5th chapter of the book of Proverbs. Yeah, I don't want to go to
21.
Yeah, I'm going to go to verse 16. No. I want to start with 5:3 through 6 and then 7 through 23. Basically, 3 through 23.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword.
Okay. Now, any of you understand what wormwood is? Okay.
Bitter.
What's that, Will?
The branch I was trying to push out of the way.
No, wormwood was the pile of sticks you landed in at the end.
I actually tasted wormwood tea, and it was so bitter. It was like chewing on aspirin or something, even worse than that.
Yes.
I used to take it for exercise because a friend of mine was this weekend. Said this tincture of 3 different things: walnut oil and wormwood and clove.
Yeah.
And you take all 3 together. 6 months later, I still could taste the wormwood.
Yeah.
Wormwood. Biblically, wormwood in the end times has got the real nasty flavor, but it's also toxic. It's deadly. Okay.
Well then, why did they make tea out of it?
I said in the end time.
Oh.
That was a bad teenager.
Okay.
He was trying to get high.
Oh, it's
Yeah, he uses the word wormwood. He uses the word wormwood instead of another word that we know called gall or bile. Wormwood can be transposed as bile or gall.
Not good.
Have you ever accidentally been in a position to place that your stomach delivered you some into your mouth?
Terrible.
That's what it's referring to. It is not
Not good.
the nicest thing to be in your mouth. Okay? So God is making this statement where he was just reading in chapter 5. He said that it was what?
Bitter.
Bitter. Okay? It started out in one manner and turned into another. Because as the approach is always made, it's always in the...
You like it? I love pork chops. Swine flu excluded. I love pork chops. But if I eat pork chops, I don't mean if I eat pork chops, when I eat pork chops, because I love them, I'm awake all night with just the worst heartburn in the history of the world. And nothing I can take that night's going to stop the heartburn. But the draw from the pork chops is honeycomb.
Yes, I know. Because in your mouth, that's how it tastes.
And I love the taste.
Mosquito.
But every single time I do it, I get terrible heartburn. And the end is bitter.
The end. Okay, and so, as God's making these statements now, so the statements we're talking about, we're over in the end where God is bringing the judgment, okay? We're at the front of how it approaches and how it comes on, what it's like in the approach in its attack, because basically, scripturally, it's a attack from the enemy. It's the approach and the way it comes on. I was just listening to Becky talking about her brother. Okay. It comes on with this
Feeling good, little
approach, but when it gets down to the end,
death.
it's death. Gall, wormwood, bitter, nasty. bad. Okay? God says, this is what he's making the statement to. Now, if you was taking the time to pen how many different methods and ways and avenues that God's speaking about here, you're going to find it's going to be mega. Point it all to one single subject. Okay.
Her feet go down to death, her steps take hold on hell. Lest thou shouldest ponder the path of life, her ways are movable, that thou canst not know them.
Okay, now listen to it. The ways of the world are what?
Unstable.
Unstable. They're movable. Well, if this avenue don't work, try a new one tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. That's what they do too.
Yeah. If this avenue don't work, we'll switch it up a little bit. We'll change it. I was thinking about this. The people that cook meth, they're continually moving, but they're continually changing what they're putting in it. They're always
they don't
mixing
care
it.
what poison they put in it either. They do not care.
It's ridiculous the things that they put in it.
Kennedy came home the other day and he says to us, "Well, you know what that camper out parked in the barn is?"
Looks like a meth lab.
He says, "That's a perfect place for a meth lab." I said, "Well, go take a look in it, bud." Because, they teach him in school what to look for
I know.
and everything. I thought, boy,
They
we're dealing in a church, I guess.
But I was just using...
I don't think them wasps know how to make meth.
But I was using it for an example because they're always changing it.
Yeah. Very unstable.
I've listened, and one time they got all these ingredients, and the next time they don't even have half of the ingredients they had before, but they've got worse ones.
Pesticides.
And they got every kind of thing stuck in it. It's just
horrid. It's horrid.
Bizarre, changing. The ways, he said, of the harlot are continually rotating.
And it says it rotates, it moves.
Yep, movable.
In case you start thinking about the paths of life.
That's what he said. You can't know them.
Unless you ponder the way of God,
and
we're going to keep this in your face, changing and shifting, so that you don't have time to think about it.
That's it, and that's what goes on. Yeah. Okay.
Someone pushed me over.
I didn't touch
She
it.
told me earlier not to fall, so
Camera on you.
I think it was Stephanie's fault.
Go ahead, dear.
Or am I reading 7?
Yep.
All right, just the whole thing.
Yep.
Hear me now, therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh to the door of her house.
Okay, now this is whose warning?
God.
This is God's. Okay. Now he's already sent us some of the front directions now, and now he's sending warning. Don't even get close. Stay away from it, okay? Keep yourself separate. And the enemy is always coming by, trying to entice. Now, am I speaking about physical? Remember, I'm using the physical as God said in comparison to the reference to spiritual. Because that's what God's using it for. Okay.
Lest thou give thine honor unto others, and thy years unto the cruel.
Listen to this. Say what you're doing, you're giving honors to the wrong side.
Yeah.
And years to cruelty.
Wasted on evil.
Misery.
When you begin to understand, I was holding a little great granddaughter in my arms. And I was praying for her. She came into this world, not by her choice.
Sorry.
And if something don't happen, caught in a web,